Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. Dude, this is such a guerrilla outfit.
Dude.
Well, we're literally this is like, remember that what do you call it, Christian Slater movie, Pump Up the Volume? This is the podcast
Christian
version
Slater.
of Pump Up the Volume.
If you're thinking.
Of course, promote. Was that New Orleans? Are you
That
a
is.
Saints fan? Oh yeah, because that's
Since we've been an item, she's become a Saints fan.
wow. Okay.
We just have a lot of mutual friends that love the Saints, and you kind of started going to games.
Oh really? So it's a real thing. Well, you're. Oh,
Being from New Orleans, I've gotten to know some
them?
players and the coaches and the GM, and so
that's wild.
it's fun. It's
how
good.
did you get to know them?
Being in, are we on?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
This
It's
is
just devil
guerrilla.
may care.
Yeah,
all right. I like
exactly.
how you roll, Joseph.
That's right.
You know, Better Than Ezra is from New Orleans, and
Right.
it's a small pond,
Uh-huh.
and so everybody just kind of knows each other. You run in the same circles,
Yeah.
and so I've got to know Coach Payton, Sean Payton.
Oh, okay.
Just mutual friends, and we've just hit it off and gone on vacation together, and then Mickey Loomis, who's the GM of the team.
Yeah.
You know, it really kind of cemented the Better Than Ezra Saints relationship when the Saints won. Were going to the Super Bowl, and they flew us down with the team to Miami, and we went on the team buses to the game.
That's wild.
And we won. We beat, the Colts, and we came back. We played the victory party. It was us and Kenny Chesney.
I see.
Hoisting the Lombardi Trophy with sprays of champagne everywhere, and it was amazing. It was a once in a lifetime thing, and I had my brother there and everybody close to me.
Yeah.
You get to celebrate your team Super Bowl, and you're with the team.
Yeah.
It was a once in a lifetime moment.
And then did you get that? Well, you knew them and your friends, but was it also because you guys were playing the party and shit like that?
Well, we already knew them, so they kind of
They invited you anyway.
Yeah, because
That's a
we were
trip.
just buds with them, and then I kind of know Drew. Drew, I don't see him as often as the other guys, but I like Zach Streif, who was the big All-Pro left tackle, offensive tackle. But so I'm a Saints fan, man.
Yeah. I'm a Browns fan, but you know,
You guys are back. You guys, maybe not back, but you're.
For some reason, the Browns is like America's team. Like even in New York, there's like
Everyone
Browns
loves an underdog.
Yeah, well, we're a perpetual underdog.
But now
the
you
Saints
got,
have dealt with a
now
little
you got
of that.
Baker.
Yeah, I guess I'm like a
Browns are
so-
due. That's the Saints were a team that everybody wanted to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
And Browns would be
especially,
that team too. If it was Browns versus the Patriots or whoever.
Yeah, no.
But you're both AFC, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, we are both AFC.
But Browns, whoever, if that was the case, the whole country would be for the Browns.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you know Mike Napolitano?
Of course.
Yeah.
Why does it not surprise me? You guys are friends.
The nappy dugout.
Nappy, dude. We recorded some together when he had that apartment studio behind Hugo's. What was the
No,
place?
it was like right over
Right there.
Checkpoint Charlie.
Checkpoint Charlie, right there at Decatur and Esplanade.
Yeah.
And that was you'd be recording and there'd be girls sleeping on the bed.
Yeah.
From the night before, and it was just
Yeah.
it was
And it's
so
a
New
and
Orleans.
it's studio apartment. I made a whole record in that apartment.
Well, Emerson
And-
Hart. Do you know Emerson Hart?
Yeah,
from
I know.
Tonic?
I know Emerson.
Emerson
yeah.
made a record there, and
Yeah.
and then across the street we made our second record, Friction Baby, at Kingsway. And it was such a great time. And
Yeah.
Napolitano with his cane, and
Yeah.
he recorded some Ezra at our studio. We had a studio on Terpsichore, which is between Britannia and St. Charles, right in the Lower Garden District.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in and did some recording for us. He's such a good dude.
Yeah, he's cool.
And he's in a good place too, I think.
Yeah, well, he got married to Ani.
Ani?
Yeah, I don't know if they got married or are they married or did they?
I'm not sure.
I don't know the status of that, but
Well,
yeah.
did you know Ethan Allen? Not the furniture maker and patriot.
Yeah,
But
probably.
But
do.
he's a producer. He lives in Silver Lake now, but he was a New Orleans cat. He and Napolitano were really tight.
Yeah, I know like Greg Dooley and those guys. And
well, Dooley and I, we were label mates.
I didn't know that.
But I don't know. I don't think we really never got along. Here's why.
Uh-huh.
I think it was more him than me. Mm-hmm. This is the deal.
Of course you do.
When you're on a label,
we're all friends of Greg here.
When you're on a label,
yeah.
you have your moment when you're the new kid on the block and the label loves you.
Right.
And then you don't have the success you had initially, and they sign a new band, and you instantly just resent them. Yeah. And they came out, they got signed by Sylvia Rohn to Elektra Records, and they put Gentleman out, which was one of my all-time favorite records. Yeah. But it didn't take off the way it should have. Right. And then Ezra got signed, and then we had, Good.
Massive
and took off. And I always felt that he just thought, I just never got a good vibe from him until much later. And then, of course, our second album came out and didn't do that well. And then they signed Semisonic. And I did not like those guys.
Right, so you got to feel the burn of that.
Feel the burn. But Dooley, last time I saw him was at One Eyed Jacks?
Right.
With Rio. You know Rio?
Yeah, of course.
We could just have an all day conversation.
Yeah, Rio and Corey. Yeah. I spent a lot of time there in the early 2000s. I made an album called Our Shadows Will Remain, in the nappy dugout mostly.
The city sucks you in, man.
Yeah.
And if you survive then you're proud of the scars you have. I know that when I think back about when I lived in New Orleans, I'm like, I was crazy. It was just, you get in the city and you're in a bubble, and you lose perspective on how much you're going out and how much you're partying, and at least I did. Yeah,
well, it's it does something to you similar to have you ever been to India?
Never been.
Okay, well, it's like a psychedelic place because your expectations about what's going on constantly get thwarted. You're going down a highway and suddenly an elephant's walking down the middle of, or something like this. New Orleans has a bit of that, when you're recording with Mike and then, in Checkpoint Charlie's on a Tuesday night, a blues band starts kicking in at 4 a.m.
Oh,
dun, 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 just full steam ahead, and you go downstairs to check it out, and there's 3 people sitting there looking at it, and it's just like that. It's not. It's all the coloring is outside of the lines, and
it really is.
So that affects you, in a way, because it kind of just pushes you into your subconscious, I think.
And I think that's why forever the city has inspired painters and musicians and architects and everything. It's just such a heady city,
Yeah, and with a lot of spiritual material too. I'm just in the ether. You can feel the spirit of the place is so, I'll butcher this word, but palpable.
Palpable.
Thank you.
But you may have just coined it. Palatable and palpable.
Palpable.
So palatable would be a tasty, palpable thing. So.
Or it's visceral. How about visceral?
Yeah. No, the city's just got this. You're right. It's in the ether. It's in the ground, and it's in the thick air. Yeah. And the city just kind of breathes and sweats, and it's very sultry.
Yeah. And you grew up there?
I did. I grew up in a less romantic place called Monroe, Louisiana. I was born in Atlanta, and I grew up in Monroe, but I went down to college in Baton Rouge, LSU. Right. And then I moved to New Orleans. I lived there for 15 years.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it got in you. Do you know James Hall?
Very well.
Yeah.
Well, Better Than Ezra's drummer is Michael Jerome.
Right.
His drummer, yeah.
I didn't know that. I know Michael Jerome well. I've recorded with him.
Oh, he's Jerome. He's the best.
He is the best. He's a cool dude too.
And James Hall is again one of those great artists who just should have been massive. I remember when he was in a band called Arms Akimbo.
I don't know that.
That was his band.
Marry My Hope.
In Athens, and
Atlanta.
We opened for them at the Nick in Birmingham. And
I played the Nick.
Oh God, yeah.
With the Vallejo brothers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know James Hall's son, Grandma?
I've only heard his music, and everyone just says it's Jerome says and I loved it.
It's insane. I wrote. I've been writing with him. I got his newest single. I co-wrote with him, Downtown Life.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
I love his stuff.
No, I think he's genius. He's just like super creative, talented dude. Like his.
And James, are they living in Atlanta?
No,
is James still? He was in Atlanta.
Where's James?
He was in Decatur or something.
Yeah, he's a little outside of Atlanta, I think. I don't know. I don't know the status of that either. But yeah, and Liam is like in that, like just signed to Atlantic, and going to L.A. and spending time with his manager out there.
Who manages?
Donnie Graves. Do you know Donnie Graves?
I don't.
Yeah, but so it's interesting to work with Liam because he's like uber talented.
Dude, well, I'll have to reach out and try to write with him. I'm a fan.
Yeah. So that's what you do. You reach out to people and try to write and stuff like that.
I mean, I love co-writing with people. And forever with Ezra, I was the only writer, and I only wrote by myself. Because I don't know, did you start off just writing by yourself?
Yeah.
And and the collaborating thing, initially it was
it's
like
awkward at first.
It is, and I was like, well, if I like a song and it gets to the point where I play it for the band, I can trust it because I know it's come from a place that I feel good about. And then when I would first write with other people, I would be like, I don't know if I got to live with this. And then you get past that. And my first co-write happened after I was working in 2001. I was at Conway Studios and at St. Andrews and Melrose. That studio, those three studios behind the Manicure Gardens, and it's a beautiful studio. And Justin Timberlake was in one studio. Ezra was mixing an album that Brad Wood had produced. And then in the third studio was Meatloaf.
Oh, okay. I remember, the story.
And so Alan Kovac and Meat heard it was Meat's manager, and Meat.
And you call him Meat, like his first name is Meat, and his last name is Loaf.
Just Meat, dude. And so Meat heard a song I wrote, and that was my first co-write.
Right.
And then I wrote with Blondie and Barry Gibb and all Alan Kovac's clients, and then I started writing with people who weren't members of AARP.
Right.
And that kind of started my songwriting thing. So it just keeps me in touch with what's going on. And when you write with someone, you can't help but assimilate a chord progression or a sense of melody, and then it keeps my songwriting fresh.
Yeah.
Especially working with younger artists, and that's really cool. It's important to me.
Yeah,
because it affects my own music.
Yeah, I got that with working with Liam.
Yeah.
You
listen to like, hey, yeah, man, I was listening to this. And you're like, oh yeah, I dig that. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I know he was like constantly. Yeah, I was completely out of touch. I heard you gave a speech. I forget what it was for, but it was like you were going through like the points of like your process or like and one of them was keeping up to date on what's going on currently and how some people wear it as a badge of honor that like I don't even know what's up, man. I don't
know, man.
And I'm guilty of some of that.
Yeah, right. We all are.
Like I'm guilty of that. Like, but recently, like, cause just working through with Liam, and then he's like he is on top of the charts and everything, and we would just be listening to like what's going on, and it definitely woke me up. I think to modern life a little bit more.
And there's awesome stuff happening.
Yeah.
And then also once you dive in, you go, oh, well, I see where they're getting that, and then you can really be useful. Like, okay, you're digging that. Well, this artist is really just influenced by this artist. Let's listen to this, and then then you make the connection. Then you start, and then you'll start writing melodies that are like feel maybe more relevant or newer sounding.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because you do. Whether we know it or not, as songwriters, we have a style and a default. Yeah. And I'm always trying to get away from my default.
Yeah, I'm in a band with Peter Buck right now called Arthur Buck, and I do.
I'm familiar. Yeah.
You know that one?
How has it been we never met?
I don't know.
How did we never meet?
I mean, we probably rolled around New Orleans.
We probably
you
just-
were already kind of like, I don't know. You might have been. You like kind of already took off. I don't know.
Yeah, but that
you-
may have
you
happened
hung out.
professionally, but I still hung out the way I always hung out.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
that when Trent Reznor was there?
Yeah.
And Dooley.
Yeah.
God,
Those were the days.
finding yourself at Reznor's place or Hot Snake's studio at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Nothing good happened.
Right. I never found myself there. But I
You're a
had
smarter man than
but
I am.
well, no. But I had friends, mostly female, who found themselves there. But I don't know why I put mostly female. I was just trying to be clever or something. But it was
well,
a female
he's a
friend.
sexy guy. He's
Yeah,
dark and
he
sexy. He's
is.
like a modern day vampire.
Yeah. Are you a fan?
Reznor?
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his success. You know, I don't listen. I mean, and maybe some of the Nine Inch Nails songs, like "Closer" or "Hurt" and stuff like that, and then some of the soundtracks stuff he and Atticus have done. But it's
Right.
all too serious and self-important, feely to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the way they feel about it, but I respect it. You know. But it's not my thing. I'll go listen to.
You veer more towards pop, I guess.
No, I mean the thing.
Or just everything. Country.
Everything. If you looked at my Spotify playlist, it would be things like Dawes and Father John Misty,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. That may become more psychedelic, kind of acoustic pop.
Right. Maybe Radiohead too.
Yeah, some Radiohead. If
Yeah.
I was listening,
One of
Or
your songs on the new thing reminds me of Radiohead.
Oh, I bet there's.
you know which one?
It might be the first one.
I don't remember.
You know what band I find myself going back to and listening to is Travis.
Oh yeah.
That Travis.
Why does it always rain on me?
Oh my God, the man who, and then the Radiohead connection because Nigel Godrich produced the Man Who, and he produced the Bends and OK Computer, but that era of a British pop just still slays me.
Yeah.
I like to always think I'm never going to be that guy who only listens to old music, but I'm very often that guy. you
Yeah.
know. But I always love listening to new things. But it's all just one. There's one common thread that goes through the stuff I love.
Which is what?
Melody,
Right.
cool chords, great lyrics, like the Dawes guy, or Josh Tim, whatever Father John Misty's real name is, Josh, or what? Father. just lyrics that are going to inspire me. And go, God damn, I wish that was me. Like Leonard Cohen, or
Yeah.
just things that just new ways of looking at how to write lyrics.
Yeah, what did you get? We Got Off Easy. That's a really good tune.
Oh man, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That song.
It's moving. I just like the whole "We got off
Easy,
easy,
didn't we, babe?" That was
yeah, it's like it's got because it pulls at you. It's like I don't know, man. It just puts you in a movie. You know how songs sometimes, and then all of a sudden there's a camera sweeping.
dude. Thank you so
Like,
much to hear you say that.
It has that vibe.
That song just fell out.
That's a good one.
That song just fell out, and I was in my house and started humming it, and I knew that it got off easy, didn't we, babe? I was like, that's my hook.
Yeah.
That's my thing I'm going to hang my hat on. And I
Yeah.
ran out to the house and put it down on my phone, little voice notes. And the lyrics were, I usually not struggle with lyrics, but I wait till the end. I'll have
Right.
the hallmarks of lyric, of keywords that I'll put like chained together with gibberish, but this one was the one that just all fell out. Just a memory of relationships and Scrabble and cheap wine and clove cigarettes and modern lovers.
Oh, like Jonathan Richman.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's the opening lyric. I still remember you there wearing your modern lovers T-shirt,
Right. Oh, right.
choking on a clove cigarette like you did back in high school.
Yeah.
And then also, and I'll never, shy away from saying what I was listening to. I'm a big Spoon fan, and you
Yeah.
can totally hear me, kind of being inspired by that
Oh, I can hear that now.
Brit delivery.
Yeah.
And I love the production on their albums. Spoon's a band that I just, as a modern band, or a band that's been around a while, but still just making such cool music. And I'm inspired by what they do production wise, and you can just tell they just go down a rabbit hole in their studio and like, spending more time than I'm inclined to on guitar tones. I'm like, just get something up,
Yeah, I'm like that too.
I'm just like, get it up, but you can just tell those guys are just down the rabbit hole like Dan Auerbach must be.
Right.
Like, this is a silver tone that there's only one of these made. It was actually incorrect that it was made, but it imparts a nice resonance. And when you add it to this circa 67 fuzz face pedal, it really has a nice resonance. And I wish I was I love it, but I'm not that guy who's going to be all geared out, because it scares me when I do that. I'm like, I'm getting away from the point, which is a great song.
Right.
And then I also think that people just love a great song, and that those little fine points are lost on most people.
Yeah. I guess that's just a way to keep you entertained too. And if you got the money for it, you know, it requires space and money.
Space and money.
And because some of those vintage pedals.
That's the name of my next album.
Space and money. Where so you recorded at Kingsway back in the day? Did you record with Dan?
We recorded with we recorded with Don Gayman.
Okay.
And Don Gayman had done, at the time he had done Document for REM. He had done the big Tracy Chapman comeback with Give Me One Reason to Leave Here. But he'd also done, he'd done the big Mellencamp records.
Oh, okay.
But most recently he had done Cracked Rear View for Hootie and the Blowfish. But that's not why we hired him. And we just I liked the tones. And he was, did you ever work with the producer because they just were so persuasive?
Like they talked.
Yeah, they kind of talked us
into
into it.
Yeah.
And I because the first person we interviewed and brought down to Kingsway was Andy Wallace.
Right.
Who did Grace, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
And I love Don, but I've kind of regretted that we didn't do a record with Andy Wallace, because I still think his production is just some of the best. It just stands up.
Right.
It's real clean, but it sounds so good. And the way that record ended up sounding mixed, the Friction Baby one that we did at Kingsway, I wasn't that super happy with it.
Right.
Because Don recorded it and mixed it, which I don't think is often the best thing, but I still love the album. But yeah, I always wonder. And Andy Wallace had just done the Blind Melon album Soup right before Shannon passed away, down in New Orleans. So when Andy came there, it was really to be with us and talk about producing the album. It was a weird vibe. He was like, wow, 5 months ago I was in this recording Shannon, and
yeah, we just interviewed them for this podcast, Rogers and Chris, and then Travis, the new lead singer.
Yeah?
Yeah, at Danny Clinch's See Here Now festival.
Ah.
And so we got an amazing 2-part interview with Blind Melon.
Yeah, they talked all about recording in the studio.
Yeah.
And Shannon passing away a month and a half after the album came out.
In the bus. I remember that Ramada Inn right out in St. Charles.
Yeah.
Well, how is the new I love this. Do people, the throngs, the thousands listening to this podcast need to know that how we're keeping our train of thought together as workers shuffle in and out. Angrily.
Yeah, this is a real.
Are you a Blind Melon fan?
This is a real guerrilla operation we got going on here.
But this is so perfectly authentic. It's brownies.
Authentic
We got
New
the brownie
York.
sign.
It's usually not like this.
We're not really allowed to be here.
They don't.
Everybody
thinks that the other person said you guys could be here, but no one did.
Right. This is how you get by in New York on a beginning a business podcast.
And we're on
budget.
episode 50.
We're on episode 50. Like, we've been churning out 2 of these a week.
Yeah.
And I'm getting ready to tour. I'm doing a co-headline tour with Jesse Mallon.
Oh, killer.
October and November.
Does Jesse still have his bar on?
This is Jesse's bar.
One of them.
That's
I
why
thought there was one on a corner.
That's why
Niagara.
Yeah, and then
Niagara, and then it had the great bar downstairs where you could dance to AC/DC and Golden Earring.
Yeah. What's it called? Cabin Down Below.
Yeah.
And then there's
7A
Berlin,
in Berlin.
yeah.
So yes,
And then this is Lola. This used to be Coney Island Baby.
Oh yeah,
and I live right over this.
that's killer, man.
And I paint down here too. I'm a painter.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So this is my painting studio as well. Yeah.
I love it. It's multi-purpose.
It's multi-purpose, but yeah.
It's so great, seeing the Brownie sign and realizing that we're in Brownies, And,
I shouldn't have said I live right over here. I forgot we were recording.
Mm-hmm.
Edit.
Now all your fans, yeah, you can use
Edit.
That was TMI. Yeah, but what were you saying? Sorry about Brownies.
it's just cool to be in Brownies, or the former Brownies.
Yeah.
And then tonight and tomorrow night I'm playing at Mercury Lounge, and I haven't played Mercury Lounge since 1994.
Right.
Wow.
When we played CMJ.
Yeah, that's a great room.
Yeah, well, I remember it being really cool, but it was that one of those shows where they're all showing up.
Yeah.
Steve Lillywhite was in the audience.
Right.
Who had produced U2 and U2, and Dave Matthews.
Enough said.
Right? And it was one of those shows. Every time you played New York, right before we got signed, it was just like, who's in the audience?
Right. What was it like when it blew up for you?
It was.
And how old were you?
I was 27, but we had lied and said we were 2 years younger.
Right, because back then, 27 was
you're
like,
ancient.
dude, you might as well kill yourself.
Well,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
the cool thing is we got together in '88.
Right.
And when we were students at LSU, and we were just playing bars and frat houses, anybody who would have us. And but it took us, I was 27 when we got signed.
Mm-hmm.
It took us it was 7 years from '88 to '95. So it wasn't like it just happened. It was a lot of no's and rejection, and us just playing. And finally the taste of commercial music came to where people were looking for artists like us, because bands like Gin Blossoms and stuff had happened 2 years before, so people were looking for that more commercial.
That's an underrated band.
Not as
Gin
grunt,
Blossom.
not as hard. We were in that spot.
Yeah.
But those are some great songs.
Gin Blossoms?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
New
Great-
Miserable Experience. Amazing album.
Great
front to
record.
back.
Yeah. Didn't that guy, the main songwriter, kill himself?
He did.
Yeah,
He
that's
did.
sad.
It is a sad, it's a sad story
Yeah.
of that band, but they're still together. We did a show with them in Pittsburgh pretty recently. I think that's the wrong paint color, by the way.
Man, he is on edge, that guy.
Really?
Yeah, if I'm about to go in the corner and get in the fetal position. That's what my body is telling
But this
me
is
to do.
this is your place. They're supposed to be amenable to you guys.
Well, yeah. But that, you know how life is.
Yes, I do.
It's a funny old thing.
It's a funny old creature.
Yeah. Anyway, so Gin Blossoms.
But anyhow, when it happened, so when we had the song "Good," which was written in 1990, had been turned down countless times. People would say, "I don't hear any hook. What else you got?" and then we recorded our first record, Deluxe, in '93. Do you know Dan Rothschild?
Sounds familiar.
Bass player, Paul Rothschild, the famous producer of
Right.
The Doors, his son.
Uh-huh.
He had an apartment on Flores in West Hollywood, and we
Yeah.
recorded on the second floor in his apartment on half-inch tape on a Fostex deck
Right.
and a Ramsa board. 16 tracks and we cobbled it together. That was the Deluxe record we made in '93, and we put it out. And so mid August, September of '94. Good was number one on 99X in Atlanta, so we had a number one song independently. And so when the labels
That's crazy. How'd that happen?
putting records on consignment and going and knocking on doors and having PDs from stations and college stations, it started happening, at WUMS in Oxford, and then in Athens, Georgia, and Tuscaloosa, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So we were playing. Man, we had a '88 Dodge Ram and a trailer, and we had our own PA system, and we just hustled, and we'd go up and play Cicero's for $50 and a pizza up in St. Louis. And how it was back in the day. You had to just go out and jam and hustle, and so we were making it happen. And we had sales. We would put all our CDs on consignment. That first record would cost us about $8,000, and that included all the recording, the art, and 2,000 CDs. And that ended up going and selling almost 3 million copies,
Is that
which was
all?
crazy. Yeah, right? Of course, the next record at Kingsway that cost $500,000 to make,
Yeah.
I think it just went gold. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Still, gold's
Still.
pretty good. But coming off of $3 million and then it like feels like a letdown.
But so when it happened, I think I was old enough to really appreciate it and really savor it and be grateful. But still thinking, oh, this is easy, Hey, it's good that we only sold this many. That way it won't be so hard for the next record.
Right.
And then you realize that you're not the exception, and most artists sell much less than that breakthrough. But we were ready for it and had a blast. And and I kept a journal of all those that first year where in '95 where we blew up and we're all over the world. And
did you have any like job or any backup plan or anything, or were you freaking out like, oh no, my life might be like a wreck?
I always envied guys and guys and girls who were just laser focused. I'm a musician. Whatever happened, I was always had doubts and second guessing. I didn't want to, struggle, and so I'd gone to LSU and I got a degree in English, and I was going to go. I figured I'd go to law school if music or entertainment, or just being in that. Because I got the bug early just to be on stage and that intoxication of being around things being created, and it really kind of never ended, but yeah.
But you didn't have an active plan B, just an idea of a way to maybe have one.
I thought I could go. I thought after I graduated college, I would take 3 years while my LSAT was still good, going to law. LSAT is a law school aptitude test, and I'll pursue the band for 3 years while that's good, and I can always go to law school and be an entertainment lawyer. And then during that time, I was out in LA. I moved out with my girlfriend at the time, and I was working at Border Grill in Santa Monica, then City Restaurant on La Brea. And
what'd you do?
I was a bartender.
Oh, okay.
So I was a pretty good. I started off a terrible bartender. I lied to get the job.
Yeah.
And to where were you ever a bartender?
No.
Yeah,
but I watched Cocktail starring Tom Cruise.
Right?
Which is
I could never do any of that.
I know everything about it.
In my
I've watched it multiple times.
Most things in life you can learn. You can learn how to drive a car, Days of Thunder. You can learn how to fly a plane, Top Gun. And make cocktails. Tom Cruise is the be all end all. But
who would you be, Val Kilmer or Tom Cruise? Top Gun?
I think it'd be Goose.
Oh, you're Goose?
Yeah,
I think he calls me Goose sometimes.
That line, "Talk to me, Goose," is just.
Talk to me, Goose.
I still use it.
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Do you remember that movie Gotcha? Remember that movie?
No.
That he was in, where he's an American student who unwittingly becomes a pawn in an international game of intrigue.
Oh, okay. One of those.
And he meets
A young Anthony Edwards.
And who was the girl from The Last Seduction? She was also in Men in Black.
Sigourney Weaver.
No.
I know.
She was
Men in Black.
Remember Men in Black? She was the female attraction to I want to say Laura San Giacomo, but anyhow, the dark hair girl. Long story. Anyhow, but bartending. I was a bartender, and then also I was in the mailroom at CAA. I was like, I'll be an agent. So I busted my ass to be. I had all these great shifts at City Winery, where it's not City Winery, City. It's called City on La Brea.
Did he foresee the future?
Yeah.
At City, and I left all my great shifts, and I went to CAA. I thought I wanted to be an agent, but 6 months after doing that, I realized I hated that life, and that my whole goal in life was to have an agent rather than be an agent.
Yeah.
So I left with my tail between my legs and went back to bartending, and that's really when we started making the deluxe album in '93 at Dan Rothschild's place. But I had a good experience at City when I was bartending. I had these great clients. One was Leonard Cohen. And Leonard Cohen would come in to my bar and order lunch, and that's when he was dating Roseanne Arquette.
Right. She's
Oh,
been on this
shit.
podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of like
Right.
synchronicities.
Her and Joe are friends.
And it was so and it was right when I'd gotten into Famous Blue Raincoat.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know she
I
did
didn't
it.
know that either. I would have asked her about that.
Okay, is it?
Are you sure?
It was one of the. It was either Roseanne.
Or
I
maybe
think
the
it was.
other-
I
maybe
think he
Patricia?
dated. Yeah, no, like Isabella Rossellini. No, probably
Isabella
not.
Rossellini.
No, so
No,
wait a minute.
somebody do some research.
Yeah, we
so
don't
did
wanna-
you? So did you ask him about songwriting?
I did.
What did
and
you ask him?
and we just became. I just asked him, hey, do you have any advice? I think he said
for a young guy like me.
For a young, he goes do something else.
Did he really say
He
that?
did, he
That's
did.
wild.
But he lived
Did he
right
say
there.
it with a smile, or was it like
I think there was a bit
serious?
of a smile. He was actually really cool. And once I got over my just being completely starstruck,
Yeah.
he was really cool. And then another guy who's the actor who plays Rebecca De Mornay.
Okay.
That's it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Rosanna.
Okay. Sorry, Rosanna. Sorry, it wasn't Leonard. Though that's a good person to say you went out with.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Christopher, Marty. Wait, the flux capacitator, Marty.
Richard Lloyd.
Richard Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. He was another one of my
Love
regular patrons. So I would have Christopher Lloyd getting his drink on at 1 in the afternoon, and Leonard Cohen.
At 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
These guys were day drinkers.
Well, Christopher was
Yeah.
famously, and then Leonard would just come in for some food
Yeah.
and good conversation.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. But so a fallback plan.
Did he give you any tidbits of wisdom, or just don't do it?
Yeah, just the one he said don't do it, and he kind of laughed. But then I would ask him. I think I asked him about some lyrics about Famous Blue Raincoat. One I asked him, was he referencing or making a reference to Scientology? Which he kind of looked at me funny because there's a lyric in Famous Blue Raincoat that goes, "Did you ever go clear?
Oh, right.
It's 4 in the morning, the end of December." I mean, I could sing those out. We could sing them together and hold hands, a cappella.
It's 4 in the morning. I don't know.
The end of December. I'm riding to now just to see if you're better. New York is cold, but I like where I'm living. There's music on Clinton Street all through the evening. I hear that you're living deep in the valley. Did you ever go clear? He had no idea what I was talking about.
Really?
I was like, hey, you want some more hummus?
Did you ever go clear?
Did you ever go clear?
Yeah, I'm still trying to go clear. But have you ever? Yeah, because that's really only a Scientology reference, unless it's just pure poetry.
Yeah, just in him it's
Which
pure
probably
poetry.
pure poetry, I guess, because he didn't know. But
He didn't know.
Ever, they must have come after you, the Scientologists.
You know what? I've worked with a lot of Scientologists,
Yeah.
and I only found out they were Scientologists after I was finished working with them,
Yeah.
and it was never obvious.
Yeah.
And then I lived on Cherimoya.
I dated a Scientologist once.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and I was open to it. Like, I actually read the stuff because I was like into the relationship, and I was like, well, let me see what you're into, and then and I like kept an open mind about it. But then I of course also went online and like checked it out, and I was
So
like,
this is online. This means this is more recent.
well, it was like, over 10 years ago, probably 10 something years ago. But I was like, okay, this is all based off of like, sound things, a lot of it, like, because it's based off of like Eastern philosophy, a lot of it, like a lot of it is like, sort of spiritually true, but the scheme comes in when it's constant money for like doing those sessions with the electric things, and I was like, this is kind of like, a pyramid scheme or something, like, or just, I didn't buy into it. I was like, and then that kind of,
And then the Thetans and all that,
Yeah,
and
all
then
that.
and then you insert
Yeah.
aliens, and then you lose me.
right. Yeah, I couldn't.
If
couldn't
if
go
he had
there.
based it all on swamp creatures, I'd be one. In a heartbeat.
for sure,
But
without a doubt, especially coming from New Orleans.
swamp creatures and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have any kind of religious or spiritual practice?
Well, I grew
Other
up.
than music.
Music is my religion.
Yeah.
And I'll speak in my dark Leonard Cohen tone.
Please,
Um,
for the rest of this interview, if you don't mind.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll be my old Southern.
Yeah.
Joseph Arthur, your silver-tongued words meant to vex and confuse me are in vain, sir.
That's pretty good. Who is that?
I'll just
guy.
kind of go into this old Civil War general.
Yeah.
So your diatribe, while both on point and well researched, is superfluous and pernicious, and I take umbrage, sir.
Sir, what are
Sir,
you talking
sir.
about?
Aloysius, why?
Crazy, mate?
What were we
And then
saying?
you should go into your Aaron Neville singing voice, like, and then combine those
I haven't
two.
done the Aaron Neville.
Do some Aaron Neville.
It's too early.
Come on, that sounded good already.
If you want someone to play with, let your conscience be your guide. Or I tell it like it is. Oh, mama. You know, just gotta get that heavy, that heavy vibe.
I'll do.
Tell it like it is. Oh, mama, let your conscience be your guide. Oh. I can't.
That should be somebody's, like, they should, like, sample that for their, like, phone ring.
Tell it like it is. Well, the best is Linda Ronstadt and Aaron Neville doing that.
Oh.
Wait, no, we were about to just stumble upon some great insight.
Yeah, I forgot.
Oh, we were talking about religion.
Oh, right, yeah. Like,
Well, I grew up going to Episcopal, and then we moved to Louisiana from Atlanta, and there was no Episcopals. Those were heathens, and then I was Methodist a little bit, but then really just kind of spiritual, guy. I'm a spiritual person, and I think really since I'm a sober guy.
Yeah, oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I got that in common with you.
Yeah, and then
at least with alcohol, smoked a bit of the weed here and there.
Yeah,
like I'm not like total.
I just went completely clean.
Yeah, that's smart.
And then and so that really kind of got me, the God of your understanding kind of thing, and really just starting to see connections, and when I was living a certain way and getting out of myself and trying not to be selfish and that whole thing. Instead of seeking to be comforted and try to comfort and love instead of being loved and understand rather than being understood, those kind of ideas make me accountable and keep me in check. And then I started so that kind of spirituality, and then starting to read different things and seeing how these connections that when I started opening my eyes and taking the blinders off of my ego, that I started seeing when I was living a certain way, I attracted people around me that were good for me, as opposed to when I was not living the best way, I attracted that,
I do know.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
And it's and then when you start to see that, you're like, whoa, it's not coincidence, and there are things that I was happening around me that I was always blind to, and so that spirituality and me saying, what is that? I want more of that, or at least I want to be more in tune with that. Then that's the spirituality I like to be a part of.
Yeah, taking 100% responsibility for what enters your field of consciousness and who manifests in your life.
Oh yeah, man, and it's just it's irrefutable. It's
tough to do though.
It took me many years.
Yeah.
It took me many years of failing and half measures.
Yeah, which avail us nothing.
And nothing.
Yeah, but learning that you are creating your reality, and taking the responsibility of that is hard to do, and it's even sometimes I slip back into old ways of being and thinking. Like I go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then I beat myself up.
The biggest thing, exactly, and because it's really subtle, and it's going back into my old ways of thinking.
Subtle is the right word for it, because did you ever read Napoleon Hill's book called Interview with
the Vampire?
No, it's called.
And we're back to Tom Cruise.
It's gonna come back to him always. What's it called? I can't even remember.
What is
the
it?
Book. It's about his interview with the devil. Oh man, it's slipping my mind.
It's Napoleon.
Napoleon
is the
Hill.
author.
Yeah. Look it up real quick. Napoleon Hill.
Look it up. Producer.
Devil. Interview with the Devil.
You know what? I think we need to, and it's Ehud.
Ehud.
I think you need to have some buttons to press and
yeah, we need that, and we need like one of those. Yeah.
Well, we
Like
have
chicken clucking?
we have the helium.
I have the book. You got it.
But we were saying, I was going to say something.
Just yeah. Oh, I don't want to cut you off.
Think and Grow Rich.
No, the other one. Anyway, the devil talks about the best thing is drift. Drift is his favorite, and cigarettes cause drift, and it's like
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting the Devil. It's a great book, and it talks about like cigarettes create drift, and then that because the subtle aspects of going into self-destruction. That's what you were.
Yeah, and it's just you don't even know it. Just like when they say, "Oh, you relapse before you actually relapse."
Exactly.
Because I would put things in place. I would start lining ththings up that were I'd say, "Oh, I've got a day off in L.A. or I got a day off in Vegas in the week, and I'd start putting pieces in place. But the biggest thing is that I really loved about spirituality was the realization that I am no different than anybody else, and I'm not exceptional, and the rules apply to me, and I'm just another dude on this planet, and and these things that work for other people will work for me. And that was the eye-opening thing, and I took off that weight of uniqueness that was false, and to say, man, I need help,
right?
And then when that help came, that was eye-opening and spiritual.
Well, to be that humble and to allow yourself to be that vulnerable is actually like a real big form of strength.
Which is the irony that you got to get the surrendering is a show of strength to say, a good friend said, man, you keep just getting in that ring with that 800-pound gorilla and it kicks your ass. Don't get in the ring. Yeah. And I just kept getting back in, and finally to say, no, that doesn't work. Have the guts, have the humility to ask for help to where you don't get back in the ring, and
it's the first step that's the most difficult and the only one you got to master, right? Just to admit that you're powerless over something like alcohol, like the idea that once you take a drink, then it's the drink that takes the drink.
Yeah, and it's really the notion of your life is unmanageable. I was like, man, I'm doing fine. I'm successful. I'm good. I'm quite happy.
Oh yeah, it's a 2-part step. It's 2 things. It's like your life's unmanageable and you're powerless. It's like, that's a big pill to swallow right from the jump.
Right. Especially with ego and because intelligence in your brain is not your friend.
Yeah.
But getting back to the book that I haven't read, but all these things you mentioned, Scientology, all these things that work for people, whether they're ultimately whack like Scientology, and to each his own, they all have things in them that are these kind of truths, about being responsible and ultimately being responsible for your actions, and which is something that's elusive. The buzzsaw, and this is part of the Halloween episode.
Yeah, there's somebody being murdered.
Right.
Man, so when did you
We got deep.
When did you get sober?
August 10th, 2014.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the last time was in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
Last drink,
which was
you've never relapsed.
Never.
Damn, dude. I got sober when I was 20. I started going to those. Well,
I just had that panic. I just had that panic moment where I'm drinking the coffee. I'm like, is this my coffee?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Well, it's nothing to panic about, even if it wasn't.
Oh, man. I'm sure we kissed the same person at some point.
I mean, it's had to have happened. You know?
So we, by the transitive property, we've probably kissed. Really? A equals B and B
I
equals
hope
C.
so.
Then A equals C. We probably kissed them.
We probably have, for sure. But I started going so young, like so I had dealt with because I was dealt with that kind of stuff really, really young. So of course then I relapsed like 400,000 times.
God.
And I've gone back and forth a million times.
I got
It's like,
I was good until my mid-30s, and I was normal everything, and then it just got to the point where after if somebody would offer me something more than alcohol, I'd be like, "Are you crazy? I got a show tomorrow morning. I got to do a radio show. I got to do a podcast." And then it got to a point where it wasn't like I weighed that thing I had to do and discarded it. It didn't even exist. At some point in the night, and it would just be like, "Well, where can we go from? What else do we have out there?" And I just remember going to AA meetings and stuff, and just lying about my sobriety and seeing guys who I'd started with and they were celebrating a year, and here I was lying about having 30 days, and that was demoralizing.
Right.
And thinking honestly, I mean, and this person, this one, again, that air of thinking I'm better than someone. I'm like, this guy's an idiot and he can get it and I can't, And then that was like, well, then it's not about intelligence or perceived intelligence. It's about just my bullshit and not being, and not doing 100% and thinking it's, my way works, So I finally had that moment that was no different on August 9th, that morning, that dark morning, that was no different than 400,000 other mornings, but something was, and I was like, I can't do this. I cannot be there. And made some calls to some friends, reached out, and
did you pray?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ask
for help?
help?
It was ugly. I prayed to ask for help, and and talked to buddies. I was a crying, snotty, bluthering mess, and I was like, I can't do this. And so my thing was, okay, I'm going to do things differently. What have I not done? Well, I'm going to do the steps. What have I not done? I haven't been honest with everybody in my life, because I could go to L.A. and they were like, they didn't know I was trying to be sober. I'd go to New York. They didn't know I was, maybe I'd be in Seattle and they say, hey, you're not drinking? Yeah, I'm done with that triathlon I was doing. I can drink now. It was all lies. Everywhere
Did
it was
you
lies.
do a triathlon?
No.
Oh.
but I'm just making that was an example.
Right.
So everybody I know in my life, I said, hey man, this is what it looks like. This is what I've been dealing with. Dude, you're the normal one. You don't have a problem. I go, yeah, this is what happens when you don't know.
Yeah.
And so all my family, all my friends, all my workers, I said, this is what it's like. So I had no safe port, if you will.
Right.
And then I just and I went and did intensive outpatient, IOP, intensive outpatient in Nashville for 28 days, and just got real. And like,
what's an intensive outpatient?
It's rehab, but you go home.
Okay.
So I would go.
I would
go from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And just jumping in and really doing it. And then my sponsor, who was my second sponsor, my first one was out in L.A. when I first tried in 2006, and we're still super close, man. And I learned so much, and the wisdom I've just learned, and I try to, and I don't say I practice it. It's progress, not perfection. And all these things, all the things that I rolled.
Denial and a river in Egypt.
I rolled my eyes. My ego is not my amigo.
Yeah, easing God out.
All that stuff. I used to was like, please get me out of.
My ego is not my amigo.
Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. All these things, I'm like, no, man, it's true.
Yeah.
And I get to have that thing. And if the price of entry, if the fee or the admission was the crap I went through, then so be it. I'm lucky. Wasn't some casualty, another sad story. Like, oh, did you hear about that guy, man? Yeah, they found him somewhere. They found him in a hotel room. I didn't want to be that dude. You know, and I certainly tempted fates.
Yeah, did you? You pushed the edge?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I like the thing that it's about service. Like there's like I think like this moral center in all of us, even if we want to try to deny that, and that like the fact that it works by sort of bolstering your self-esteem by being of service to others.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's the final sort of piece of the puzzle. And then, because I do know that, like, I'm more likely to relapse if I'm, like, up to no good, if I'm up to some shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like, and you can fill in the blank as to what those shenanigans might be. But, you know what I mean? Like, so I've noticed that over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have to kind of keep myself, you know, a certain amount of integrity or else I'm in trouble.
And I need to be better than that. You know,
Me too, dude.
It's like
it's an everyday. It's every day, man. It's like there's no, you don't success. There, and I box, and in my boxing gym, there's this flag that says success is never final, and it's true. It's like, man, this life is a constant push towards getting to being the best version of yourself. I think
it is. You know, and it's you know, it's fellowship. It's being around people doing what you're doing. It's, you know, it's recovery, and then it's service, you know, and helping other people, you know, and it's amazing what it does for you, you know. But you know, you can't give what you don't have, they say. So it's there's just no, you can't the whole half measures thing. You've got to just walk the walk and talk the talk, and then when you're doing that, things work out.
Yeah.
But again, man, I'm always just trying to. I'm always not doing it quite right, but I'm always trying.
Yeah, as long as you're trying.
Yeah.
It's the half measures is because that's what the devil likes. That's the thing. He likes drift because Napoleon.
I like the drift.
Yeah, because Napoleon Hill asked him, what's the worst drug, alcohol or cigarettes? And this was written in the 30s. It's a really interesting book. And the devil is interviewed in it. And the devil, like, there's some kind of pact that the devil just has to tell him the truth in whatever answer. And the devil even says it won't matter because you won't publish this book anyway. And if you do, you'll be hated, and all this other stuff. And the crazy thing is, he didn't publish it, and even his wife had to die before it got published in 2000.
This sounds like Confederacy of Dunces almost.
It's
how
really,
that was kind of.
It's real wild. And Napoleon Hill at one point asked him, "What's worse, cigarettes or alcohol?" And this is when like doctors were prescribing cigarettes for your health. So it wasn't like cigarettes weren't known to be bad for you at that point. But the devil said cigarettes are worse. And the reason why is because he says they promote drift. And through, you know, because if somebody's doing that, then they're like, they aren't going on the run. They aren't doing other things. They're like, you know, and I'm
drift is a great way to describe that slow going off your track and going back to the old default way of thinking.
That's the way it happens.
Was the devil's name Louis Cypher?
Probably.
Do you know what that's a reference to?
What?
Angel Heart. Remember that movie Angel Heart?
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. And who played the devil? Louis Cypher. Lucifer.
Oh, right.
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro.
So your voice is quite intoxicating with your beard and your hair and your wily ways. Well, I denounce you, sir. You succubus.
It's like you see right through me.
I just I just sit in my studio by myself, just with my eyes closed. Well, sir.
Well, sir.
Well, you know, speaking of sitting in my...
You got that tiger on your
You got that tiger on your tail, don't you? You round that tree until you turn into butter.
Cool, Bowery, New York.
You just spinning around like that old tail of the tigers around that turning into butter. Well, sir, that butter's making a batter that will bake a cake that will be your end, sir.
Yeah. Nice one.
You know, that's what we do. Have you ever done voiceover work?
No.
I've tried it. William Morris does the band, and I was a buddy of mine was like, dude, I just got $125,000 for doing a voiceover for Volvo.
I'm gonna call my manager about it today.
You better.
Right after this podcast.
Right? Like, fucking Kevin Griffin's doing nothing, and he's getting these huge things. What about Joseph Arthur?
Exactly. Are you doing voiceover?
Well, I almost got a Brian breakfast meets ad.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that, and I was it was against me and another guy for Mountain Men on the History Channel. But I didn't get it.
Are you still going for it?
Well, in my heart, I should have gotten it because, now down in the boneyard, TJ's having a little trouble with the 4x4. Up in the kitchen, Trisha's doing her best. And that was my thing, and I was so close. That guy makes $250,000 just for doing 8 episodes.
That's
and he didn't even
wild.
go into the old Dan Haggerty voice. Like I went for Grizzly Adams, Dan Haggerty.
Maybe you gave it a little too much.
I went too campy.
You went over the
I went
top.
too campy. They went for a
Yeah.
guy who was more of a micro kind
Right.
of thing. Speaking of
They wanted that
podcasts,
authenticity.
have you heard the micro podcast called "And That's the Way I Heard It"?
No.
Micro Dirty Jobs. You know who this guy is? But Micro was one of the first big personalities on reality television. He had that show called Dirty Jobs on Discovery.
I've seen
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
people.
He cleans gutters and
Yeah,
things
and
nobody
he does
wants
all
to
these.
do.
He's a super likable dude, and he has this great voice. And he does this show. They're 7 minutes long, and they're based on the old Paul Harvey radio show. Remember Paul Harvey?
No.
So Paul Harvey was a national syndicated radio voice. Paul Harvey. A young boy with dreams of flying told his father, I will one day fly across the Atlantic. And then he tells this whole story. He goes, and at the end he goes, that man, Charles Lindbergh. And now you know the rest of the story. But, and so now Mike Rowe has reincarnated this thing, and he does this new thing called "And That's the Way I Heard It," where he tells you this great story. Like one I just listened to was about Charles Roger, a duplicitous dude. Definitely, and it's the Roger's thesaurus, and it's the guy who started Roger's thesaurus, and he has these great stories from history, and the reveal is at the end.
Yeah,
you should check it out.
I'm going to check that out. You should do a podcast though. Like this is like coming back around to that.
I'm down, man.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you could do all the voices. You got skills.
Man, I might do that shit.
You should do that.
I will. You know who my first guest is going to be?
Who?
Joseph Arthur.
Hey, I would gladly accept, sir. So where did you get your drive and your ability? Because a lot of artists tend to be more unhinged, and you seem to be very well put together, and also able to be kind of a business person and keep your eye on that kind of thing.
Right.
But also you write great songs, and it's like you have a balance, which is really hard to find. And like you've described, you've struggled and stuff, so it hasn't been it hasn't been just a joyride. But
I used to not want to tell anybody about that.
Yeah, well,
just like I can't say that about me. But then I realized, man, if I tell somebody and be honest with my struggles and my journey that's ongoing, then it can help somebody.
And it takes the power away from
and then people reach out to you and say, hey man, and you've had people reach out to you who are struggling,
of course,
and then you're like, fuck, I want to be honest. If I want to go through life and just be real.
But where do you think you got your did you get it from your parents, or where did you get your sort of ability to connect all these different things? Now you started a music festival, which we can talk about too, but where did you get that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally. I've always been, I just was born with this kind of drive of always wanting to success and to do more. Like in high school, just applying to these scholarships and these summer programs, going to these things called like Boys State, where you would go do mock governments at the state capitol and speech competitions. I was just always wanting getting a scholarship to school. My parents didn't. My lovely parents, but they were just like, were supportive, but I was figuring out, well, if I can do this, and I can get a scholarship to this school, I want to go.
Where did you get that drive?
I was just born with it. I was just
Do
born
you have
with
brothers and sisters?
I have an older brother.
Does he have that drive?
He would tell you he does not, but he's very successful. He was a great athlete. My father was a great athlete who was All-American for University of Georgia and played for the Redskins for 1 year and was a badass, just
pro football player.
He-man. And my brother's like him, great athletes. And I love sports, but I wasn't gifted in that realm. I was more like my mom, more artistic and stuff, but maybe the combination of my parents or whatever DNA, I just always wanted to be successful and just.
What'd your dad do for a living?
Sold insurance.
Oh, okay.
Sold insurance.
And what'd your mom
And my
do?
mom did a lot of things. She was a realtor. She was a banker. Whenever my dad wasn't making ends meet, mom, picked up the slack.
That's
And
cool.
famously, And she's awesome. She, still very much in my life and is a great woman. And but I always just had my eye on this prize. Whether it was going to, after I was at LSU 1 year, I was like, I hate this. I don't want to be in a fraternity and do all this stuff. I had great friends. I want to make movies. So I got accepted to NYU and came in and all on my own, and with the applications and then I didn't. My parents, we didn't make enough money to send me to NYU, so that floundered. But so went back to LSU. But I always just wanted, just
was that disappointing?
Yeah, it was.
Was that a heartbreak?
It is, because I always wanted. I love making.
If you got in and it was New York calling and film school,
oh yeah,
and shit, and then all of a sudden you had to face the reality that that's not going to happen.
And I was going back to LSU, but I'd gotten a scholarship there, so I had free tuition at LSU, and that kind of came back to bite me, because my dad was like, "I'm not going to pay for you to go. How much is NYU? There's no way." But I made,
in retrospect,
I made little movies, horror movies in college and high school rather, on a Super 8 film, the Super 8 projector camera rather, that my mom made. So I was always, it was just entertainment and performing, and it wasn't like riches. It was like, I just got to do this. And I've always been, to a fault, my girlfriend Erica will just tell me, just relax. Just relax, and I have I'm always wanting what's next, and do I have enough irons in the fire, So I actually often have to just say, man, just things are good, just enjoy this,
enjoy it,
but I love it. It keeps me engaged, just doing music, and I love business, the business side, at the same time knowing what my limitations are. I'm not a number cruncher guy. I'm really good with just a concept and an idea, and the great thing about songwriting is you get to see a microcosm of a business. Where an idea can start, playing on your guitar, some silly idea, and then you record it, and then that song takes a life of its own. And if it takes off, then it becomes a cottage industry. And so that taught me really early, like, wait a second, I know what it looks like. I remember sitting in the French Quarter, and our first single, Good, we were making a video. A guy named Chris Applebaum, who did a lot of Ween videos, was doing our video, and we were in this cool old dilapidated house in the French Quarter, and I had this epiphany, like, all this shit, the deal we've done with Elektra Records, all these people moving and their generators and all, this is because of this idea I had in my bedroom in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so I got to see, like, an idea is powerful. And so with the music festival, it was an idea.
Boom statement right there.
And so, like, don't take no for an answer, because our business, the world is a business of no's. And if the given is you have a great idea or a talent, it's persistence. It's not quitting, because everyone wants to tell you no.
Persistence.
Yeah. And so whether it's a song, whether it's an idea for a music festival, or writing a book or an idea or anything, it's all possible. I just got to do it. And that saying, I'd rather regret the things I did rather than the things I didn't haunts me because I'm like, oh fuck, how old?
You're still hungry, huh?
October 1st I turned 53.
Are you serious?
No
Yeah.
Dude, you're looking good, man.
But guess
Fuck's
what?
sake.
But see, I even still kind of cringe that because I told you, like we said years ago, we lied on we said we were 25 when we were 27, which just sounds pathetic now, right?
Yeah.
But in the databases, I'm still for most things, I'm still 2 years younger than I actually am. So my buddies from college and stuff will call me up and they go, "You're pathetic." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You just turned 53, dude. You're not 51. I'm like, "I'm 51. Goodbye."
I'll tell you what, though, dude. You know what? That might be not a bad thing. I try to take my birthday off my Wikipedia many years ago.
Mine says 1968, but it's 66.
I just turned 48. I'm 1971.
Your baby.
I'm a little I'm not used to being called that, but it feels good.
No, dude,
It gives me like the warm and fuzzies.
Take it.
But so. Yeah, I tried to take my birthday off the Wikipedia, and the next day it was back on, and I was like, "Fuck it." That's as far as I went with it. I'm like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna be my age, then fuck it. I can't."
You can't share, right?
Yeah.
I now I'm just kind of like,
It's kind of prideful though, in a way. Like if you're maintaining yourself as you are, like to like kind of give your real age, because then it's like more credit. Like wow, because it's almost impressive, like. If you're still alive and thriving and
because if you say you're if you lie about your age too much, then you're like, wow, you're a terrible looking 40-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
As opposed to, like, you're a pretty good looking 53-year-old, which is crazy. When you wait till you hit 50. That's the first age I was like, oh, I can't spin this. Right. 50's 50. When I turned 40, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm 40.
Yeah.
Big deal.
27 was a tough one for me. But for some reason, I don't mind turning 48. I actually forgot I was 47 during 47. Because I had the, I don't know how you say it, but the habit of going a year higher than I am to kind of prepare myself. And so I was making a video one time and I said I was 48 in it, and my friend texted me and said, "Dude, you're 47," and I had to look it up. This happened to me this year.
That's amazing.
So I've already been 48.
So
this is no.
When do you turn?
September 28th.
Oh, you just turned.
I just turned.
A week ago.
Okay, this is everybody. It's just been this rash of birthdays around me, and everybody's a Libra.
I'm a Libra.
Yeah,
are you a Libra?
October 1st.
October 1st.
Yeah.
What? This is your birthday?
I just
2 days
this
ago.
is 2 days ago.
Did you just say that?
See,
Wow.
now you've.
I mean,
See, it started. It starts early.
Yeah.
This was when did you first start losing your mind, Joseph?
Fuck.
It was
5
that
minutes
fucking
ago.
podcast with
No,
Kevin
man.
Griffin.
It's been a lot.
I missed that too.
How did I miss that?
I missed it too.
You missed it
I don't know.
too?
You sure you said it?
Are you sure you said it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody, my road manager, all the people in my band,
Happy
they're all.
birthday, dude.
Thank you, dude.
To
Thank
the
you.
two of you.
You know what?
Later, tell me if he said it
Yeah.
when you're editing this together. Because how do we both miss it? Anyway, go
October
for it.
1st.
October 1st.
October
Anyway,
1st. The same birthday
Libra.
as Jimmy Carter.
really?
Was a good one.
I'm the same one as Bridget Bardot.
Bridget Bardot.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason we're here as man and woman to love each other, take care of each other. When love walks in the room, everybody stands up. Oh, it's good, good, good. Like Bridget Bardot. You know what song that is?
What is it?
Message of Love, The Pretenders.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I'm from Akron.
Now, the reason
I went
we're
to the
here-
same high school as her.
And then Martin Chambers' drum part.
Yeah.
I had a great night with Martin Chambers in London one night.
Tell
He's
me
a
about it.
madman. We were at this place called the Clarion Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
which was this beautiful place, and we were. And my old first manager, a guy named Jeff Levinson, who was a lovable madman, had been the tour accountant for The Who, and so he knew all these old cats. And we were with Chris Thomas, who produced all the Pretenders records, and we were getting our drink on, and Martin Chambers showed up. And at some point, everybody was getting tired, but Martin was like, I'm ready to keep going. And I was like, yeah, I'll go with you. And so we just went bar hopping in London, but he was driving. he may have been a little intoxicated, and it was
That was back when men were men. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Chill out, everybody. Jesus.
but he was just. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die
in the car with
Martin Chambers. But
Which would have been a cool rock and roll.
With cool
death.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it would have been right at the same corner where Mark Bolan, wrapped his
You a
car.
fan of T-Rex?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too. But keep with the story.
So cool. But it was just and we went somewhere, and what's his name was there? Adamant.
Of course he was.
Yeah, and of course he was. And it was just killer. But he got to tell me all about Pete Farndon and James Honeyman Scott, the guitarist and the bass player from Pretenders, who both passed away, because I was a massive James Honeyman Scott. And I think I'm getting that name right. But his guitar work was so cool. I mean, he was Johnny Marr before Johnny Marr. Just that chimey Nashville tuning guitar stuff that I could never figure out.
Yeah.
Were you good at figuring out albums, songs?
No. I started writing songs because I was really bad at it. Because it would just be like, after I would like figure out the first two chords, I would like, by the time I was supposed to figure out the third one, I started writing a song with the first two.
Maybe
that was more fun to me. Then I was like, okay, fuck it.
Maybe that was me too, because I was not gifted in figuring out song parts from albums. I always made it more complicated and shittier than it actually was. I mean, I was into Rush.
Oh,
so
me too.
I was. Are you a Rush fan?
Oh, fuck yeah. Dude, I'm from Akron, Ohio, and I took acid when I was 15.
You want to know a great story?
So, yeah, I like Rush a lot.
Check that. We were just going to do a podcast about Rush. Okay. You know who I work with a lot? I've written on a lot of the past 4 albums with Ed Robertson from Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, okay,
and he's from Toronto, and he's tight with Geddy.
That's crazy.
And he's been on the on Geddy's sailing boat off of Cabo. Nuts. But my Rush story.
Geddy has connection to Cabo.
I believe so.
That's
yes.
wild.
Or it was Puerto Vallarta or something like that.
I go down there a lot. I go to Todos Santos.
Todos Santos.
Todos Santos.
Todos Santos.
Come on. I don't know.
I went to Cabo with my lady. Down where did we go? Where did we go? Esperanza. Very cool. Rush. Okay.
Yeah.
It was I was 15 years old in Monroe, Louisiana, which is northeast Louisiana. They call it the Arklamis, the nexus, if you will, of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, on the I-20 corridor. And Rush was playing the Monroe Civic Center. It was after Moving Pictures, and right when Exit Stage Left was about to come out. I was a massive Rush fan. I mean, like crying in my room with my head.
They were bigger than anyone at that point.
They were the biggest band in the world.
They were the biggest band in the world.
At that moment.
They were. They were nutty level.
And I was in love with this band. And me and my best friend, a guy named Joel Rundle, who was a part of Better Than Ezra until he passed away in 1990. And we heard word on the street in Monroe was that Rush was staying at the Holiday Inn Holodome near the Monroe Civic Center. So I got into my my 78 Honda Civic, a little green Honda Civic that I called the Green Barchetta. Mm-hmm. And we went and staked out the Holodome. And we were in the little game room at around 6 a.m., just looking around. We were those guys, and at around 10:30 a.m., my buddy Joe's like, oh my God. And it was Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson walking past the pool through the lobby, to the front, to the little breezeway. And we quit playing Galaga, in short order, and we went out and we like introduced ourselves, like, hey, I'm, and we're big fans.
I love that you were playing Galaga.
Galaga.
That's funny as hell. You're really painting the time. This is a
Asteroids,
period piece.
Galaga, and Robotron.
Yeah.
And we stood out there and we were like, hey man, we're locals and we're typical fans, but they were really cool. And I remember Alex, he had a red shirt on and a little khaki vest, and I remember he had a fever blister. It was so rock and roll. It was so Spinal Tap. And then Geddy, but they were super cool.
And then Geddy had the same fever blister.
Fever blister, the same side, opposite side. But they were super cool, and they were waiting on a car service, which didn't exist in Monroe, to take them on some errands. And somewhere during the conversation, I kind of peppered in, hey, we'll give you a ride around. and they just quickly just dismissed that offer. But the third time I asked, I said, "Hey man, we'll take you by H. Michael Sports to get tennis rackets. We'll take you to the health food store." At some point, Getty goes, "Well, where's your guy's car?" Right. And I was like, "Right here." So we went back. They walked with us back through.
Getty got in the green barchetta.
Getty and Alex Lifeson on an August day in Louisiana. It was hot, and the AC didn't work in my car.
Wow.
Got in the back of the green barchetta, and I had to push the seats forward, and me and Joel Rundle took them to H. Michael Sports. We took them to get health food and somewhere else. But when we were in H. Michael Sports, they bought tennis rackets. And Alex said, he's like, "Listen, man, if you guys can go if you can come back at 4 and pick up our tennis rackets that are being strung, it'll get you backstage passes and you can come to our sound check." So
wow.
So we go back, and I remember we dropped them off at the health food store. And because that's right, I had to go get gas. I was about to run out of gas.
Holy shit!
So they were in the health food store at the Twin City Mall, and this is Twin Cities. It's West Monroe and Monroe, because West Monroe was 20 years later would be the home of Duck Dynasty, but that all that shit hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So I remember then we left them. We were getting gas, and we both put our hands on the seats that were still warm from their asses. Like, oh my fucking god, it's the aura of Getty, Bike Tour, and the Snow Dog are right here.
Yeah.
And so we went, got the tennis rackets. We went back to the Civic Center and brought them their tennis rackets and some other stuff they left in the car. And I got to be on stage, and Alex showed me how to play Spirit of the Radio.
That's insane.
And the only person we never met was Neil Peart.
Yeah.
But I've got...
That's a nutty story,
That
dude.
wins the best story ever.
I'll show you in my phone.
But I mean, dude, because also they really, really were the biggest band in the world at that point.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's like that was like them at their apex.
I'm gonna look. Let me see. Whilst we're talking, is
weird what's happened to Neil Peart, like the tragedy that struck him, and then like
I can't find it.
The whole motorcycle across the country a bunch of times and stuff.
That
like
was
that.
the documentary. The documentaries that were
never saw
awesome.
it. Yeah.
You need to go watch Beyond the Lighted Stage, which is the first one you need. It's an incredible documentary, which makes you just love this band because
even more.
I had my moment, and then you kind of like, oh man, I can't believe I was in Rush. Then you watch this documentary.
I still love them. They're still badass.
They're bad
dude.
fucking
Geddy Lee
ass.
is like the most badass bass player. Like, I mean, it's just like their groove was crazy.
It was crazy, and the guitar work.
I like Atmosphere. I mean, I like Hemispheres and. I go way back to even that.
La Villa Strange Out.
Like
we were
Fly
listening.
by Night. Fly by night.
Away from here. And it changed my life. There is unrest in the forest. There is trouble with the trees. For the maples want more sunlight, but the oaks ignore their pleas.
Yeah.
I hate to do this. We have to wrap up because he has another appointment. This should be a 3-hour podcast.
For they passed a noble law.
Too bad.
And the oaks are
What a
all kept
story.
equal.
Yeah.
A hatchet.
And a
axe,
saw.
And saw.
Yeah.
For they passed a noble law.
Yeah.
For the equal. Oh, Joseph Arthur,
I'm excited, but I want to really just touch for 1 second on your new album.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I just really like it, what I've heard.
Did you only get 3 songs?
Yeah, that's it.
You haven't heard the album?
I haven't heard the whole thing.
The first
but I
track.
like it a lot. And,
Thank you, man.
And I think it's real exciting for you, this new album.
Man.
So let's talk about that for
Yeah.
Solo.
a little bit. Is this your first solo record?
This is my first solo record.
It's great, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell me about that real quick. Who produced it?
I produced 7 of the songs with a guy named Andrew Petroff, who's a great songwriter and bass player in Nashville, and we did it all in my studio in Franklin, Tennessee. I built this place, and it just sounds good. Did those 7 songs in my studio, then 3 songs I did with Butch Walker. Do you know Butch?
Yeah, I know of him. I don't
You
think
guys would
paths.
hit it off
That's
massively.
what I've heard that before.
Yeah,
so,
you guys are birds of a feather.
We're like we went to different schools together.
Yeah, you
Yeah, or something like that.
He's also
one
a
of
big
the-
songwriter for other people.
He's
Yeah.
a great producer, and actually Got Off Easy, Someone Tonight, and Hacienda, the 3 we did together.
Yeah.
And but man, I wanted to write an album that didn't sound like Better Than Ezra. Otherwise, what was the point?
Right.
And that didn't have any considerations on trying to get on Hot AC radio or any radio,
Yeah.
and just was like, this is what I fucking love. And on this song, I want to have a guitar, a harmonized guitar solo because I love Thin Lizzy, and it's 4.5 minutes long. I don't care. Well, this one's 5.5 minutes long. Well, great, and so, and without any expectations or considerations other than just doing something I loved, and the album that came out, I just really dig, and it was just really a blast to do, and. And now getting to go out and tour, and playing Mercury Lounge, going back to my roots.
Are you doing solo or you got a band?
I got a band.
Oh, okay.
I got a killer band.
How many piece?
It's 4-piece, including me.
Uh-huh. And you guys are doing a whole tour right now?
We're doing yeah, we are. We're going to be, for the next 6 weeks, round one, wave one, if you will.
Yeah.
I'll be in Chicago. But it's mostly places like Mercury Lounge or City Wineries, because I can sell those kind of places out. Yeah. Do a couple of nights at City Winery, Chicago.
Yeah, that's
and
great
then Hotel Cafe and
I got 2 big paintings at City Winery, Chicago.
Really?
Yeah, in the main room.
Dude, I got to check out
those
your
paintings.
graphic arts. No, where do you play when you're in LA?
We're playing the Roxy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the date?
October the 16th, I believe. I'm looking at Ehud like he
knows.
knows.
Look at josepharthur.com.
Did we realize I'm in town?
Are you guys going to be in town? Come out.
Maybe I'm in town.
It's going to be fun.
I love the Roxy.
Yeah, I'll give you my number.
This is the beginning. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
The podcast will be huge.
Yeah.
But the friendship will be even bigger.
Yeah,
shit's
exactly.
gonna go.
We need another 2 hours with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations on the record.
Brother, thank you so much.
Thank you for doing the podcast. You're funny as hell. It was fun as hell to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Brother, thank you. And I had no idea that I was doing a podcast with Joseph Arthur. I would have been really nervous. So I'm glad that I just got dropped in the presence of greatness and didn't have a chance to get scared.
Yeah, it was fun. We went to different schools together, really. That's what
we
happened.
did.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You realize if you're a certain age, if you're a man of a certain age, and you're in rock and roll, we're going to have a lot. We're going to be the same guy.
Yeah.
Different, but
different versions of the same
different
guy.
versions of the same guy.
Like it's a multiverse or
the multiverse.
The simulation theory that there's many simulations, many versions of our reality going. Maybe we're just different versions of the same reality.
The Rush.
I don't know.
That's for another podcast.
That's another Rush lyric. All right, man. Where are you going now?
I'm gonna go. We're going to lunch, but we got.
That's important.
But we got to go to Q104. Is that a classic rock station?
No, what's his name? Jonathan Clark. Yeah, he's cool.
Cool dude.
Very cool. Yeah, he's a great interviewer. Great.
Do you know what we should do?
Great dude.
Let's do a tour at some point together.
Dude, that would be a good idea. I would love
it.
Let's definitely I would love that.
Yeah,
maybe we both have albums coming out this week, and after this tour with Jesse, I don't have. It's like most through like mid-November, but then I'm like free.
Let's do it in the new year.
Maybe we should link it up in the new year and book something. I'm into it. I want to get on the road.
Yeah.
And then we could help each other fill the room.
Dude, I love it.
Let's do that.
I'm in.
Nice one.
Brother. Pleasure,
Great
my friend.
Great to meet you.
And Napolitano, man. I got to reach out to Napolitano.
Nappy Dugout.
Nappy. Hey, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Ehud.
You want to give your Instagram and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. It's Kevin M. Griffin. That's Instagram. And then I think that's the Twitter. And then Facebook's just Kevin Griffin, and kevingriffinmusic.com for all pertinent and salient information. Wardrobe choices, audio, voiceover work.
Check out his new album because it's something. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/ComeToWhereI'mFrom. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.